All right. 100% attendance on the Thursday. Excellent. I know parking can be kind of iffy. So, plan for that, but also keep in mind that if there's not parking spots available in the parking lot all along this street on Montana, you can park parallel parking too. So 2332 is hospitality, financial, or revenue management. This is one of my favorite classes to teach. I probably say that for all my classes, but this one really is my favorite to teach because it combines two of my biggest passions, hospitality and math. So there is a lot of math that we're going to be talking about in this course, and I'll give you all the formulas. I'll help you walk through everything step by step. Okay. But in this class, this is really important. This concept of revenue management for hotels. We're going to talk about it from the hotel perspective, but it can apply to airlines, it can apply to rental cars, it can apply to your inventory in your operations. So it can apply to a lot of different aspects. All right, so um, we have the syllabus versus the course syllabus. So if you log in Canvas, let's take a look. If you log into Canvas, you see on this main menu, you see syllabus, and then you also see course syllabus down here. If you click on syllabus, this essentially will give you a course calendar of all your due dates for your assignments. Okay. I also have printed out your course calendars. So you might want to keep this handy. Uh, there is already one update, one change from the course calendar that's actually posted in Canvas. So I actually need to revise that one. Okay. Um, so it has all of your due dates. There you go. All right. So the biggest change, the biggest change that's on this that is not on the course calendar in Canvas, which if you look here in the modules, I will update this, but it's right here where it says spring 2026. So this is the digital copy of this piece of paper. Okay. So I will update it. The biggest change is that on week 8, when we come back from spring break, so that's going to be on March 17th on St. Patrick's Day. We are actually going to be going to the San Antonio Hotel Lodging Association luncheon. Okay. And this luncheon exactly aligns with what we are learning about in this class with the average daily rate, all of the metrics. And so I remember when I went to this luncheon for the first time, I had no idea what they were talking about. I just went for the food. But then as I started going to the luncheons more and more, and of course, then as also I started teaching this class, I understood the concepts a little bit more. Um, and so this will give you an opportunity to kind of see how we can use the metrics and the data that we get in this class that we talk about, how they use it in a real world setting. Okay. The luncheon will be at the Grand Hyatt downtown. Okay. I'll post all of this and announce all this information in an announcement. Um, I have to look at my budget, but I should have budget to cover everybody's luncheon for that for this meeting, and potentially if enough people need a ride, I can also arrange for us to have like at least like a 12 passenger vehicle that can help us get all down there. So we can meet here and then we can all go together downtown. So you don't have to look for parking if you want to. Okay. So we'll discuss that more. That's the biggest change that's on this paper that's not on the digital copy that you have. Okay. The other thing that I want to point out is next week on Tuesday, we will not have class. Okay, we will not meet. It's independent study. Um, and I'm going to give you enough information today to be able to do the room revenue, ADR, and occupancy and RevPAR assignment. Okay, that'll be your independent study. So that's what you'll do in addition to watching the videos for chapter 2 and chapter 3 that we'll go over the next week. Okay. So those are the main things I wanted to point out for you. Okay. Um, Anybody have any questions about our calendar? I do have spots in our calendar for potentially either a guest speaker or a visit to a hotel. Okay. And when we visit a hotel, we would speak specifically with the revenue manager to see how they implement what we talk about in class in the real world setting. Okay. So I'm still working on trying to figure out a hotel to do that, those visits to. But they are at the second part of the semester, so we've got a little bit of time. The last thing I want to bring to your attention on February 24th, it's the last Tuesday of the month of February. We're going to have a guest speaker. It's going to be on Zoom. Okay. Um, and our guest speaker is going to be from the Springs Resort in Pagosa Springs, Colorado. Okay. That is a partnership that we have set up through St. Philip's College and the Springs Resort, where they accept summer interns. So you can go and live in Colorado and do your summer practicum or just a summer internship at the Springs Resort in Pagosa Springs. So let me just give you a quick. So of course in the summertime it would not be snowing. But this essentially, they have 50 different hot springs pools. They have four different buildings going from the economy basic room all the way up to the more luxury rooms. And they offer food and beverage, they offer spa, they offer wellness. And so when the gentleman who speaks with us on the February the 24th, when he speaks to us, he'll give you a big kind of introduction to the resort, and then also talk about the practicum and the internship. So I have visited the Hot Springs Resort probably 4 or 5 times, and it is one of my favorite places to go. Another cool part is that as an employee, when you're not working, you get to go and enjoy the springs. So you get to enjoy which is different. Most resorts, most hotels, once you're off work, you're not on property. But this is a very different situation. So, anyways, any questions about our calendar? Yes, Leah.
So, so we're gonna have a speaker do the chapter 7 exam. Okay.
Yep. All right. So if you look at syllabus on Canvas, the one that's just plain syllabus, this is going to be all of the due dates of all your assignments. Okay. Um, there should be assignments. Hold on. Let me view as a student so you don't see all the extra stuff that I have hidden. All right. So it looks like there's a couple of things I still have to assign due dates to, but most everything else has their due dates. Okay. If you select course syllabus, that will take you to the official syllabus document. Okay. That's where you have all the information about the book, about the class, the learning objectives, all of that stuff. Okay. So that's the difference between syllabus and course syllabus. Okay. Questions, comments, concerns? No. Okay, cool. Let's leave student view and let's go back to our PowerPoint. All right, so you should have access to your book in Canvas, or at least in your student email to order your book. Leah, will you hold your book up for me, please? This is what our book looks like. If you have the option to purchase the book after I think it's I think you have to return the books at the end of the semester. If you have an option to purchase the book and you are going to stay in hotels as part of your career, I would recommend seeing if they are selling it at a discounted price, at a reduced rate, and hold on to this one. This would be a textbook that would be something that you would refer to back as a tool throughout your career. Okay. All right, so in person class, 10:45 to 1:30. We may or may not go all the way till 1:30 every day, but we will, that's what we're scheduled to do. Bless you. Please keep your technology use to a minimum. If you're using your laptop, that's fine. If you're using your phone to take notes, that's fine. But please make sure you're being engaged in what's happening in class. Last semester, when I taught downstairs in the big lecture hall, I can't tell you how many times I walked up to people and they were looking at other class stuff. Okay. Um, Focus this time in here. And then you can do your other class stuff outside of here. Okay. Don't forget for our field trips, similar to 1313 front office, for field trips or when we have guest speakers, it's important if you would I would prefer you to dress professionally for that. And as always, if you need professional attire, we have some in the back that's been donated by industry professionals to support you all as students. If you find something you like and it fits, it is yours to keep. You do not have to bring it back. Okay. Our assignments are almost always due at 8 a.m. on Tuesday, except for your getting started quiz that will be due by Friday this week, but most everything else will be due at 8 a.m. on Tuesdays. Okay. This is weird having people that have had me in class before because I don't have to go through the whole explanation of everything. You guys already know everything. Food and drinks. Okay, who knows? Raise your hand. Does anybody know what SOP stands for? Anybody? Anyone want to take a guess of what SOP stands for? Standard operating procedure. It is standard operating procedures. So you'll hear that. And that's one reason why I wanted to put that up here on the slide, is you'll hear that in the industry. Okay. What is the standard operating procedures? Basically, what are the things that you're going to be doing? So if you're at the front desk, there's a standard operating procedures for how you check a guest in. Okay. If you're working breakfast at the hotel, there's a standard operation of procedures of what you do to set that breakfast up and then clean it up. Okay. So it's always a good idea to know what the standard operating procedures are for the job that you are doing. Okay. You have your job description that tells you kind of overview what you're going to be doing. The standard operating procedures tells you how you're going to do that. Okay. Um, there are snacks up on the shelf. I do not have beverages yet. I haven't gone and gotten beverages yet, but there is a fridge in there. I understand that we are from 10:45 to 1:30. We go over the lunch break. So if you want to bring your food and you need to store it in the fridge, then you're more than welcome to do it. Just please take it with you at the end of class. Okay. I will stock the fridge with beverages. There are snacks over there right now. You are welcome to take whatever snacks you would like. I will tell you the peanut butter cheese crackers expired in December, but I had a package this morning just to test it. It tasted fine. But those are my snacks left over from last semester. So feel free to take as much as you want today, and then I'll make a point to get to Sam's and restock that for this semester. Any questions? No? All right. You're like Mr. Minsky. The less questions we have, the sooner we get to go. You guys know my education background. Um, I am in the process right now of developing my proposal for my dissertation. The dissertation is a 5-chapter book. The shortest dissertation that I have seen is about 260 pages. Um, I just last week on Wednesday submitted a chapter 2 that was 30 or 25 pages in length. And it was my literature review, which is basically I have to do a big analysis of all the literature that's out there about my topic. And then say how my topic fits in to the literature. So I have chapter 1 done. It is done and signed off. It is complete. Chapter 2 is being under review. Chapter 3 is I have some feedback that I have to do some changes to. Once I get those 3 chapters completely done, that's called my proposal. And then I have to defend my proposal. And I have to say, this is what I'm going to do, this is how I'm going to do it. And then they say, yes, you can do that. And then I have to go and actually interview people and collect data. And then that's my chapter 4. And then chapter 5 is my analysis of my data. So my goal is to be done by December of 2026. I hope to be done with my proposal by March of this year. And starting to collect data by April or May, and then I can do all my other stuff. So when you come back after December 2026, if my beard is gone, then that's the cue to call me Dr. Uminsky, because I've been growing this for 2.5 years, since the day one of my first class. But yeah, so I'm really, really excited about this. So just like you guys have homework, whew, I've got homework. And so I'm just balancing that. My jobs, I think you guys have already seen all of this. The 2 jobs that really, or 3 jobs really, that solidify and align with this course is going to be my time at the La Quinta Inn and Suites, the Sheraton Gunther Hotel, and then when I was a corporate planner for Adventures in San Antonio. Those 3 jobs are the ones that I align with most for this content. All right. So just remind us, we're gonna do our icebreaker. I know how much everybody loves doing icebreakers. Um, Remind us of your name, because we've either all had class together, or maybe you've taken 1313 at a different time, so you weren't in class together. Tell us your name. Everyone in here should be either hotel or hospitality management majors. Where are my hotel majors? And hospitality? And somebody, okay, cool. Everyone raise your hand. So we can skip that. Industry experience, where you've worked or what you've done. And if you don't have any industry experience, that's okay. Tell us what your dream job what your dream job would be in the industry. Okay. You can also throw in your dream job as well. So if you tell us about your industry that you have experience you have now, but where do you see yourself? That would be great. And then if you want to share a fun fact about you or a hobby about you, I can't think of any fun fact or hobby that you all don't know about me, so I'm just gonna skip that. Um, but who would like to go first? Okay, go ahead. All right, so I'm just gonna go ahead and keep recording on the previous recording. So this is gonna have like the introduction stuff and then chapter 1 all in the same recording for today. Um, Revenue management, right? For the hotels. The whole concept, we can sum up revenue management, okay, in 4 sentences. We want to sell the right room to the right guest on the right day for the right price. Okay, I'll say that again. We want to sell the right room on the right day for the right guest for the right price. Okay. So you can copy the word right. The right room on the right day to the right guest for the right price. Okay. Do our hotel room prices change? Yes. Okay. Now, way back when, hotel prices were fixed. Every room was the same price before they implemented revenue management. And revenue management is a relatively new concept. And when I say relatively new, I mean like within the last 15, 20, 25 years. Okay. It's relatively new because prior to the internet, prior to technology, before even telephones, not before, well, yes, before telephones, but how did people make hotel reservations? They just walked in and said, "Do you have any rooms? And what's the price?" And that was it. And every hotel room was the price. And if we had an empty room, well, then you pay that price and you get the room, right? But now, because of revenue management, we want to make sure we're selling the right room. So we have different types of rooms. Okay, we'll talk about that. On the right day, meaning certain times we're busier than others. Who can give me an example of a time in San Antonio when we're really busy? Fiesta,
Rodeo.
rodeo.
When we have final.
When we have a Final Four, when we have major events, right? So when we have those major events, we want to make sure that we're selling our rooms, okay, to the right room, to the right, on the right day, to the right guest for the right price, okay? And we're going to talk about the different types of guests we have. What kind of guests do we have in our hotels?
Families.
We have business travelers,
Families.
we have family or leisure, and the third one is
Travelers.
Like
Wait.
corporate or?
Business, families traveling.
so no. So we have leisure, which is people who are traveling for fun. We have business, people who are traveling specifically for work for their business. And the third one is not solo, it's our group. So if a whole group is coming for a conference or a meeting, okay, those are different than business travelers, right? Because I could be a business traveler. Let's say I work for HEB and I'm going to go check on the store that I'm responsible for in New Braunfels. Well, if I'm traveling for business, but I'm not traveling with a big group, okay? And so we have business travel, we have group, and we have leisure. Leisure basically means all the social stuff, okay? And we want to make sure we're selling it for the right price. Okay, so different industries. I already mentioned a little bit in a previous discussion in class today. What are some industries that utilize revenue management?
Hotels.
Okay, so hotels is one.
They like car rooms.
Say that?
The car rooms.
Yep, car rentals,
Airlines.
airlines. Okay, we might say amusement parks. Okay. Something that all of these have in common. We're going to talk about different aspects of revenue management, but something all of these have in common is that their product is perishable. Okay. If I don't, let's say I have room 102 at my hotel, it's empty tonight. Can I get revenue today by renting it to someone tomorrow? No, once midnight happens, if that room's not occupied, I get no money. Once that plane takes off, can I just mid-flight drop somebody in that seat? No. Once that plane takes off, I've lost the opportunity to sell that revenue, to get that money, okay, to make that sale. Same thing with car rentals. Once midnight happens, any car that's still on my lot is money that I'm not getting in. Okay. Amusement parks, if I don't sell the ticket today, sure, I can sell a ticket tomorrow, but I'm not going to get the money today. Right. So the other one might be cruises. Once that ship leaves port, I'm not just gonna drop somebody on the ship in the middle of the cruise. Okay. So being perishable is one of the characteristics of an industry that can use revenue management. We already answered that question. What's revenue management? It is selling the
Right.
right room,
The right day.
the right day, the right guest for the right price. Okay, good. So when we have this, we want to make sure we know exactly what our product is. Okay. Now, we might have hotel rooms, but we also might have hotel rooms that face the Riverwalk, and we have rooms that don't face the Riverwalk. Or maybe we have rooms that are suites and rooms that are just standard guest rooms. Or maybe we have junior suites, which are a little bit larger. We have presidential suites. So we want to define exactly what our product is. Okay. Competitive benchmarking. What is benchmarking? Anybody know what benchmarking is?
Like a baseline?
It's a baseline which you compare yourself to other people. Okay. And so we'll talk about our comp set. Comp is short for competitive. So our competitive set, those are the hotels that we compete with. And we'll be able to, in one of our lessons, we'll be able to see how different hotels compete and compare to each other. Okay. Strategic pricing is short term. No, take that back. Long term. Strategic is long term. So thinking in the future. What is the root word of strategic? Strategy. What is our strategy to get the most revenue to sell the right room to the right guest on the right day for the right price? Okay. If we know Fiesta is coming up, we know the dates of Fiesta. Are we just going to wait until we get closer to it to change our room rate? No. We're going to go ahead and put that room rate in right then and there. Okay. And so long-term thinking, we have that strategic pricing. What does the word forecasting mean?
Predicting?
Predicting. So if we have Fiesta, what was our rate last year? What was our occupancy last year? Okay. We use the past data, the past information to predict the future. Yes, Chef.
We have a student, did you publish your second RSTO 2001? Added that extra section, because they're seeing not published.
Yeah, I have not published that one yet. No. Yeah.
Sorry. Hey,
That's
guys,
okay.
Welcome back.
Thank you.
That's on my those are my last
Fun right now.
those are my last two classes to publish, my RSTO ones. Yeah. All right, so demand forecasting, we take past information and we predict the future. Okay. So the last time that Final Four was in San Antonio, 2018, what was our room rate? What was our occupancy? Okay. We can forecast the demand that's going to be coming in. Okay. Spring break last year. What was spring break like last year? Okay. We can forecast that demand. Business mix is how do we sell to leisure, group, and business travels? Okay. How do we manipulate? Sometimes during the weekends, maybe our group business isn't as busy. So on the weekends, we might want to focus more on the leisure travelers. But right now, since school's going back, are we have a lot of leisure travelers traveling during the week? Not really. So now we're going to be shifting our focus and manipulating. Okay, now we're going to sell more groups during the week to get those meetings happening in our hotels to keep those rooms full. Okay. And the last one that we'll talk about in a later chapter is distribution channel. Okay. How do we get our rooms out to our guests? So, how do people make reservations today?
Online.
Online,
And by calling.
by calling, possibly, yes. How do they make them online?
Third
They
parties
have
are on a
to pay
website.
for it.
They might go through third-party websites, which are things like Orbitz, Expedia, Hotels.com, Trivago. Okay. They may go directly to the hotel website and make a reservation. Or now I'll go to the app, make a reservation in the app. There was one time I was watching a movie, and during the previews, I remembered I had to make a reservation for an upcoming, like next month, for a stay that I was going up to Austin. I was like, oh crap, I forgot to make this reservation. So literally in the time it took for that preview to happen, I made a reservation on my phone. It happens that quick. Okay. So how do we distribute our product? If somebody books on Orbitz, they pay $100. Do I get that full $100? No, because I have to pay Orbitz some money as like basically like a referral as a commission for them selling my hotel room. So sometimes we may just say, you know what, we don't want third parties. We're just going to close off all third parties. Okay. And then we're not going to take any more reservations from them. We'll only do it directly with us. But where's the issue with that?
You lose customers.
People are trained to go to those third party sites. They're not trained to go to Hilton.com and find the hotels, right? One of the benefits of doing third parties is I can go to hotels.com and I can say San Antonio, and let's not say hotels, let's say Expedia, and it's going to give me all different types of brands. And then I can pick whichever one I like the best, right? That person is not brand loyal. They're not loyal to Marriott or Hilton or Hyatt. They're just looking for the best rate, the best deal. Okay. If we can create loyalty guests, then they'll go to the app and they'll only be looking for Hilton hotels or just Marriott hotels or just Hyatt. Okay. Excuse me. All right. So these are some of the areas that we focus on. Okay. We're going to pick one on the top. And how does it connect to one on the bottom? Okay. So who wants to take a stab at occupancy or any one of them? You tell me, look at the top row. We're going to match them to the bottom row. And raise your hand, Leah.
We'll do occupancy.
Okay. And that is?
How many rooms are sold?
Yes. How many rooms are sold? So how full is our hotel? Good. It's on another hand, Edward.
Sure. I can go for rates.
Okay.
When is discounting appropriate?
Yes. Okay. So sometimes we will discount our rate, but sometimes we won't. If it's Fiesta, it's a really high demand, we're going to close off those discounts. When we get to that, I'll show. When we get to talking about rates, remind me to tell you about the La Quinta and Fiesta. I'll tell that story then. All right. Yes.
Sales mix, where are the sales coming from?
Not quite.
So then would be who is buying? Or is it what else is sold?
Sales mix is what else is sold. Right? So the sales mix is not just rooms, but revenue management also looks at how much is sold in food and beverage. What's sold at the spa? How many people buy golf, go and play golf? How many people pay for valet parking versus self-parking? Okay, that sales mix, revenue management looks at all of it. Okay, market segmentation. Anybody want to take a guess?
Where are the sales coming?
Not yet. Distribution channels is where the sales are coming from. So is that coming from our website, the app? Okay. So then the market segments is who is buying. These are the primary areas of focus that a revenue manager is going to be looking at. Okay. Market segmentation, who is buying? Is it young 18 or 25 to 30-year-olds? Is it older retired? Is it families? Okay. Who is buying? Is it going to be business people? Is it going to be groups? Okay. And when it comes to our groups, is it associations or is it corporate? Do they do training? Do they need ballroom space? Who is buying? That's that market segmentation. Okay. So we're going to go through each one of these four things. We have a fixed capacity, meaning I can't just create more. Okay. Perishable products we already talked about. The demand, it is somewhat predictable, but it may change. Okay. And then we also have high fixed costs, which means our fixed costs are really high, which means things like our rent, our salaries, all those fixed expenses are really high, but our variable costs are low. So let's go through each one in just a little bit more detail. So fixed capacity. Okay. So our fixed capacity means my room has 200 rooms. Can I just add 5 more rooms because I have 5 people want to make reservations? No, I can't. Once I sell 100%, then that's it. That's all I can sell. Okay. But I might take reservations for 105 rooms in hopes that 5 people will cancel or not show up. Okay. Airlines do that all the time. They oversell seats, they oversell tickets because their goal is to get to 100%. When that plane takes off, every seat is filled. Same thing with hotels. When we close the books for the night, we want every room to be sold. 100% occupancy. Okay. Perishable products we already talked about. Varied but predictable demand. We might be able to predict what our demand is going to be. Okay. So I'll give you an example of when this doesn't always happen. Labor Day happens in the fall, right? So Labor Day weekend of I don't know, 4 or 5 years ago, Hurricane Harvey hit Houston during Labor Day weekend or right before Labor Day weekend. And so I was talking to a restaurant owner downtown. I saw him in passing as I was walking to a different meeting. And we just talked for a couple of blocks and I asked him how his Labor Day was looking. And he's like, well, we thought we were going to be really busy. But when we looked at all of the data from last year, 80% of our credit cards that were swiped came from a Houston zip code. So now we predicted that we were going to be busy because last year we were really busy. But now this natural disaster has happened, and 80% of the people who came last year had a zip code that is now underwater or they're not able to leave. And so what does that affect? Their volume of business, right? So we can predict our demand, but it doesn't always happen the way we predict it to be, okay? So our costs, we have fixed costs, we have variable costs. And those variable costs, we only incur those variable costs if we actually sell a guest room. So if that guest room sits empty, do I have to replace the soap and shampoo? Do I have to wash the towels and the sheets? Do I have to pay somebody to clean the room? No. So those are variable costs, right? But that costs money still. That costs money in order for me to sell that room. If you've been a front desk agent, guests who walk in who do not have reservations typically want to try to get you down to the lowest price that you are able to sell that room for, right? They walk in, our room rate tonight is $200. Well, that's too expensive. Okay, that's my rate. Do you have any discounts I can look at? Are you a member of AAA? Do you have, if they're old, you might ask them, do you have AARP? Right? Are there different rates that maybe are you part of a company that offers discount rates? I can look for those. Are you military? Maybe we offer a military rate. Okay. So, but if they say no, okay, that's my rate, $200. And I can't tell you how many times as a front desk agent, I've heard a guest say, well, do you want the room or not? Do you want any money? Because some money would be better than no money. Okay, yes.
Wait, you heard who?
They would say the guest, like someone's like, I say $200, that's too much. And they're like, I can only pay $100. Okay, well, that's not my rate. $100 is not my rate. And they're like, well, would you rather have $0 and not sell the room, or would you rather have $100 and sell the room? Okay, well, first of all, the fact that you're having this argument with me tells me that I don't want you to be my guest. Okay, so you're not the right guest for today. Okay, but if I sell that room for $100, I have to pay the housekeeper. I have to pay chemicals to wash the linens and the towels. I have to replace the soap and the shampoo. That could equate to anywhere between, I don't know, depending on the level of service of the hotel, that could equate anywhere between, I don't know, anywhere between like $15 to $40. So if I'm selling my room for $200 and it cost me $25 to clean that room and get it ready, and you're offering me $100, well, that's only $75. Is it worth $75 to take on a guest who may or may not treat the room with the respect that it deserves? I may have more damages. I may have more expenses to incur later on. I don't know, right? And so those costs, those variable costs, are relatively low. The fixed cost is very high, and that's why your hotel room costs so much, because you have to pay for all those fixed costs. We're not just paying for what's in the room and the cleaning. Yes, we're paying for that. We also have to cover all the other expenses of the labor, of salaries, of rent, of insurance, of all the different factors that we have to pay to keep our hotel open, all the utilities and everything. We did a field trip once to the Marriott River Center Hotel. I don't remember the exact number, but I want to say they spent something like $18,000 a month just on laundry detergent, just on the chemicals to clean the sheets and the towels. $18,000 a month. That's a lot of money just on one thing. And if we don't have that, we don't have cleaned rooms, and we can't resell, right? So that's what we have to have. All right. So that is revenue management in a nutshell. We're gonna do an example, a practice example. Chris and Brianna will have seen this before, but it's different numbers. All right, so we have a 5-room hotel. We are going to determine if we are selling the room to the right guest on the right day for the right price. Okay. So in a moment, I am going to read out some reservations. Okay. I'm going to read out some reservations. And you are going to decide if you want to keep that reservation and take it, or if you want to skip it and potentially wait for a better reservation in the future. Okay. So let me see if I can get this camera working because I really want to show you the paper. There we go. Perfect. Okay. So I'm going to give you a visual and an example here just for a second. Okay. So let's say you notice we have 5 different rates down below. We have AAA, corporate, rack rate. So rack rate is one of our highest rates. Okay. Everything else is a discount off of the rack rate. Everybody know why it's called the rack rate? Anybody remember from front office 1313? It's called the rack rate because when you would walk into a hotel, there would be a rack right here with all the rooms that are available. And you walk over and you pick up the reservation, and this is the hotel room that you're going to be in, and the rate. So this is the rack, and this is the rate that's in there. So they call it the rack rate. It's the highest rate. This rack rate now, where do you typically find the rack rate? It's in the room, typically on the back of the door. Okay. So in Texas, it's different in different states, but in Texas, they are required to post the rack rate on the back of the door in a hotel room. What does that help prevent? Price gouging in times of emergency or times of events, right? So my rack rate's $250, and oh, here comes the men's Final Four. All my competitors are getting $400. I can't charge any more than $250. Okay. You can change it. It takes at least 30 days to change that. So it can be changed. But if you want to change it as a hotelier, you have to let the state of Texas know in writing at least 30 days in advance before you can start charging that rate. Okay.
Mr. Umansky,
Yeah.
can you explain that a little more? Like, so you have the rack rate, the rate that you're gonna sell it at for say $400, and so that means you cannot go above that.
Correct.
Even, but when a game, like let's say a concert comes into town, like then you can change it, but you,
You can change it in writing
okay,
30 days in advance to the state of Texas. You have to submit that change, but you cannot charge that rate until the state of Texas has approved it.
okay,
Yeah. And when I say approved, they're not going to come back and say, you can't charge $400 as your rack rate. But if you put that you're going to charge $2,000 as your rack rate, they may question that. And so they're basically just saying, is the rate that you're establishing as your highest rate, is that a reasonable rate to pay for that hotel room?
okay.
Okay. So the rack rate is the highest. Then we have events and then government. Okay. So here's how it's going to work. I'm going to give you a couple of reservations. Okay. I'm going to read them out, and you're going to decide if you want to take a reservation. Okay. Now, this is for example purposes only. So everyone watch the screen up in the front. Okay. Let's say I said corporate rate, checking in on Tuesday and departing or checking in on Tuesday through Thursday for 3 nights. So corporate rate, if I wanted that corporate rate, then I would write $85 for 3 nights. Check in Tuesday for 3 nights. See how that works? Okay. Now, if I say rack rate, checking in Sunday for 3 nights, can I put that reservation in room 101? No, because there's already somebody there on Tuesday. So if I wanted to take that rack rate, I'd have to go to room number 2. Or I could say, you know what? I'm going to skip that one. And then if I say, Let's say I said AAA checking in on Monday for one night. Where would you put that? If I said AAA checking in on Monday for one night only. You could come down to 103 if you wanted to. Or since Monday is one night, you could put it there and fill in that gap. You see how this is going to work? If I say event rate checking in Sunday for 5 nights, you cannot, event rate, you can't go 245 and then come down here and finish out the rest of the 5 nights. You cannot do that because we're not going to change our guest rooms in the middle of their reservation. Okay? I'm going to read every reservation twice. I'm going to read it twice, and then you can decide whether you want it or whether you don't want it. If you don't want it, just skip it, okay? And move on and wait for the next one. Questions, comments, concerns? I want to make sure everyone's got the concept.
We're not doing these. Those were just.
Those were just examples. Yeah, that was just an example to show that once you take that first one, if I say a different one that overlaps, you have to go to a different room. Okay? Questions, comments, concerns?
I think I got the hang of it, the idea.
Okay, cool. So the first reservation you can choose to take or not is the corporate rate of $85, checking in Sunday for 4 nights. So corporate rate of $85, checking in Sunday for 4 nights. Corporate rate of $85, checking in Sunday for 4 nights. The second reservation is the rack rate, checking in Tuesday for 1 night. The rack rate, checking in Tuesday for 1 night. Reservation number 3, government rate, checking in Monday for 3 nights. The government rate, checking in Monday for 3 nights. Fourth reservation, event rate, checking in Thursday for 3 nights. Event rate, checking in Thursday for 3 nights. The fifth reservation, AAA rate, checking in Wednesday for 3 nights. The AAA rate, checking in Wednesday for 3 nights. Sixth reservation, corporate rate, checking in Tuesday for 5 nights. Corporate rate, checking in Tuesday for 5 nights. Number 7, the government rate, checking in Sunday for 7 nights. The government rate, checking in Sunday for 7 nights. So the only way you can take that one is if you have a room that is completely empty. It has nothing on it.
How many more reservations do you
You
have?
never know. Number 8 is the corporate rate, checking in Sunday for 7 nights. Corporate rate, checking in Sunday for 7 nights. Number 9, event rate, checking in Wednesday for 4 nights. Event rate, checking in Wednesday for 4 nights. Number 10, the corporate rate, checking in Sunday for 3 nights. Corporate rate, checking in Sunday for 3 nights. Number 11. Corporate rate, checking in Friday for 2 nights. Corporate rate, checking in Friday for 2 nights. Number 12. The rack rate, checking in Sunday for 7 nights. The rack rate, checking in Sunday for 7 nights. Number 13. The event rate, checking in Friday for 2 nights. The event rate, checking in Friday for 2 nights.
So you put Friday, Saturday?
Yeah, Friday and Saturday. And that's it. So what I would like you to do now, is look at the dollar amount for each day and write that in the daily total. So the dollar amount, so add up all the dollar amounts in the column and put that number in the daily total. Okay? So do that for Monday through Saturday, or Sunday through Saturday, sorry. Do that Sunday through Saturday. Okay, so again, if you sold 1 room, then your occupancy in this case was 20%, because 1 divided by the 5 rooms that are available. Okay. If you sold 2 rooms, 2 divided by 5 is 0.4. Move that decimal place over 2 spots, and it gives you 40%. Okay. With the show of your fingers, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, or 7, how many nights did you have 100% occupancy in your example? 4, 2, 7. Okay. 3, 2, 2, 2, 3, 3. Okay. Cool. All right. So go ahead and put your pencils down for a moment and take a look up here. I want to do some other examples. So if you want to flip your page over and do these examples just for occupancy, it will help you with when you go and do the homework. Okay. So remember, our occupancy is the number of rooms that were actually sold divided by the rooms that are available. Okay. So, Lily, do you know how many rooms are at the Embassy Suites approximately?
200.
Okay, so let's round it. Let's make it 225 just to keep it on simple. Okay, so if I have 225 rooms, my hotel. Okay, Chris, give me any number that's between 0 and 225.
180.
180. So if I sold 180 rooms, if I use my formula, I do rooms sold was 180 divided by the rooms I have available, 225. And when I do that math, I get 0.8. So what am I going to do at that decimal?
Move it over 2 places?
I move it over 2 places, fill in any gaps with a 0, and I put my percentage sign. So we have 80%. 80% is my occupancy for that day. Okay. Another example? Let's do another example. All right, Brianne. Brianne, give me how many rooms are in our hotel? You can make up any number. Multiples of 25 or 50. Give me a number for the number of rooms in our hotel, but kind of keep it between like multiples of 25s. 350. So we have 350 total rooms. Okay. Sebastian, give me a number between 0 and 350. 75 rooms sold. Okay. So to do our occupancy percentage, we take 75 rooms sold divided by 350 available. And when we divide 75 divided by 350, my answer is 0.214285714. That's a pretty long number, right? How many spaces do I move that decimal? 2 spaces.
Be 21%.
So I've got 21 point, look at these next two numbers. 21.4%, right? Because I want to have at least one decimal for percentages. But because this number is a 2, that means I leave the 4 alone. Normal rounding rules apply. So you see how we got 21.4%? Good. Let's do one more example. All right, Yasmin. How many rooms do we have in our hotel?
825.
825. Now let's say I want to know what my occupancy is for the whole week. Okay. If I want to know what my occupancy is for the whole week, how many rooms do I have during the week to sell? How do I figure that out?
Multiply by 7.
7 times.
825 rooms each night times 7. My total rooms is 5,775 rooms to sell during the week. We all see how I got that number, the available rooms. Okay. Ileana, how many rooms did we sell that week? Only 650
Right, for the week.
for the week.
5,500.
5,500. Okay. 5,500 divided by 5,775 gives me 0.9523. You'll notice I only wrote the first 4 numbers. Why? There's more after it, but why? Just those first 4. Move my decimal place over, 95. And then is 3 higher or lower than 5? Lower, which means that 2 stays the same. 95.2%. Okay. Questions, comments, concerns? Yes.
So let's say on a quiz or a test, right? You put 0.95, or I'm sorry, you put 95.23%. Would you count that wrong, or would you just know that?
It depends on how I have the quiz set up. Most time the quiz will give you a margin of error of like 0.5% or more. So if you said 0.23, then it would still count it correct.
Oh, okay.
You really only need to go to 1 decimal place. Okay. Let me show you the mistake that a lot of students make. Okay. Is they would say we sold 5,500 rooms and I divide that by 825 rooms available. Well, when I do that, I get a really bad number. Holy cow. 6.67. Okay. We're gonna move that decimal place over to, and you're gonna tell me, Mr. Uminski, I sold 667% occupancy. Is that possible? You cannot have more than 100%. Okay? So the error that students make is that we forget to multiply this by 7 because it's for the whole week. Okay? It's also important for you to know how many days are in a month. Is there 28? Is there 30? Is there 31? How do y'all know how many months have which months have 30 or 31 days?
January has 31.
Everybody put your fist up like this. And start with your first knuckle and go January, and then a little indent in between your knuckles. January, February. March is your middle knuckle. April, May, June, July as your last knuckle, and then hit August again on the last knuckle. August, September, October, November, December. If you hit a knuckle, that's 31 days. If it's the little indent, that's 30 days. So January, February, March, April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November, December. The knuckle is 31 days. The indent is 30, unless it's February, of course, is 28 or 29 every 4 years. Okay, so that's a really easy way to memorize or to figure out how many days of the month you have. Okay, and that determines whether you multiply your rooms by 30 or 31. Questions about occupancy?
Either 29. Like you said.
Yeah. So occupancy is basically how full our hotel is. How many rooms did we sell compared to how many rooms we actually had available? Okay. Now, I'm just going to throw this last little bit of nugget of information about occupancy. Sometimes our hotels go into renovation and they close an entire floor. Are those rooms available to sell?
No.
No. So what they'll do oftentimes is they, instead of having 825 rooms, if they close a whole floor, then maybe we only have 750 rooms to sell. Because otherwise, those rooms not being occupied is going to mess up my occupancy percentage. Okay. So that's just something to keep in mind about occupancy. Okay. What is underneath occupancy on your page? ADR. That stands for average daily rate. Your average daily rate. ADR is average daily rate. How do you find the average of any group of numbers?
Add it all together and divide by the amount there is.
You add them all up, and then you divide by the number that you have. So our average daily rate is our revenue This is on your formula side of your paper. ADR is equal to the revenue divided by rooms sold. The revenue divided by the rooms sold. So on the work side, right across from your ADR formula, okay? I want you to write, what is your revenue? What was your revenue? What was this dollar amount that you wrote at the top? Okay. What was this dollar amount that you wrote at the very top? And then I want you to count how many rooms you actually sold. So how many squares actually have a dollar amount in them? I want you to count those. Right, so if you take a look real quick up at the front. My revenue was 5,365. I counted it up and I sold 32 rooms. Okay? Your number on the bottom should not be higher than 35. It can be 35 if you had 100% occupancy for the whole week, but it cannot be higher than 35. Right? 5 rooms, 7 days of the week, that's 35 rooms. Okay? So, Brianne, what was your ADR?
26. What?
So, oh, sorry, let me finish it all the way through. So 5,365 divided by my 32 rooms actually comes out to $167.66, right? Because we're talking dollars and cents. We need to have these two decimal places. I'm gonna round it up to $167.66. So that's my average daily rate. Okay? So what is your average daily rate, Brianne?
192.5.
192.50? Okay. I'm gonna call your name and you tell me what your average daily